And he joins me right now to talk about Svengoolie's Halloween Bonanza that kicks off on MeTV starting October the 1st with the first ever Svengoolie primetime special. Really excited to talk to him. Richard Koz joins us this morning. Svengoolie, how you doing?
I'm good, Brad. Nice to talk to you.
Hey, it's nice to talk to you as well. I mean, we're in your season. This is where you thrive. This is where you shine. Are you ready for this Halloween season?
Oh, yeah. My boss, Neil Saban, the guy who created MeTV, always says December is owned by Santa Claus, but October is owned by Svengoolie. So I've got to live up to that.
Hey, man, I remember being, this must be, I don't know, I was probably early 20s, late teens. I was in a Mexican restaurant in Houston, Texas, and they were playing MeTV on the television in the waiting area. And it's the first time that I saw you. And when somebody sees Svengoolie, it's you remember it. You're a very distinct-looking character, to say the very least. And I said, man, who is this guy? What is he all about? And then I started watching you that Halloween season. This must have been 2011 or 12-ish. And and what I love, though, about what you do and what you present and what MeTV is able to do is I'm not a horror movie guy per se, when you think about the slasher films, but I do love the Halloween season, and y'all have been able to really cultivate something that's easy to watch for the whole family.
And that's exactly what we're trying to do. MeTV is supposed to be, family entertainment, and we keep that in mind. We present some of those old Universal classics that, in a way, we're kind of showing for the first time for some of the younger folks who've never seen them. In a lot of the markets that we're in, those Universal movies haven't been broadcast over the air in over 15 or 20 years. So it's a chance for a lot of people to see them for the first time. And, and when there is something in our movies that might be something that might disturb people, I always make sure to put warnings in because, I think that's part of my responsibility. But, we try to get as much of a variety of movies as we can that will hopefully appeal to all the different ages that watch us.
Yeah, and I think y'all do a great job of that. If I can go start, though, with you, you took over this mantle, right, of Svengoolie. You weren't always there was an original Svengoolie. Am I right about this? Can you tell me kind of how the transition happened?
Sure. In the early 70s, local radio and TV guy that I was a big fan of, Jerry G. Bishop, just happened to be the voiceover announcer on Friday nights on WFLD in Chicago. And he was just supposed to do the announcements, but he started playing around with them and became the character. And this went to him being actually, visible on camera. And I was just a fan. I sent him material. And he liked it, and he heard that I was a broadcast student and brought me in, and I worked with him. And he was the one that decided I should be the son of Svengoolie. So, first of all, that was a great honor to me, and the fact that he trusted that I'd be able to handle it. So for many years here, from I think 79 to, around 86, I was on in Chicago as son of Svengoolie. But then when I got my job with the folks from Weigel Broadcasting, who own MeTV, I was talking to Jerry, and I said, I'm thinking a lot of people don't remember Svengoolie, unfortunately, so I'm thinking of changing the name. And he said to me, look, you're all grown up, just be Svengoolie. So that was cool.
Oh, man, that's awesome. Awesome origin story. Because, I understand kind of this Svengoolie character in a way, because I work down here in Houston. I work for a guy named Booker T, who's a professional wrestler, and we do.
Yeah, I know Booker T.
Oh, you know Book?
Yeah, we've met before.
Okay, yeah, he's a great guy, and we do radio out here together. And there's crossover, right, between Svengoolie and a wrestling character. You kind of have your gimmick. You know how to work your gimmick. You have your merchandise, things of that nature. And like any great pro wrestler, whether that be Hulk Hogan tearing his T-shirt, whether that be the Macho Man with his crazy outfits, or Ric Flair with his woo and his sequin robes. Svengoolie has a distinct look, but it also, you have your gimmicks. You have the rubber chicken thing, right? I mean, everybody knows Svengoolie and the rubber chicken. What was the origin of that? Like, how did that come about?
Well, that actually goes back to the original Svengoolie, Jerry. When he was on, he was like me. He did what today you might call dad jokes and groaners. And he felt that it should be like in the old days of vaudeville, when somebody was not going over well with a crowd or told a bad joke, when the audience would throw rotten tomatoes and things at him. Now, obviously on TV, you can't do that because of the cleanup. And he thought of another vaudeville type prop, the rubber chicken. And he suggested, how about when I tell a bad joke, they throw rubber chickens at me? And that's where it all started.
And you just carried on the legacy there.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, that's awesome. Talk to me about this original primetime special, Svengoolie Uncrrypted. This is the first time that you're doing a special like this?
Yeah, it's kind of cool. Actually, MeTV brought in a special production crew that does documentaries for places like Discovery and such. And it's a little different animal than what they did before. But they wanted to do something that would touch on parts of my career. And also, we've got a little story built into it where I'm looking for some artifacts from the beginning of my career. And I'm traveling around various parts of Chicago. There are some special cameo celebrity appearances in it, which you won't want to miss. And it all winds up with me going to the suburb we always mention, Berwyn, where they actually held a Svengoolie Day celebration. It's a lot of fun, and I think people are going to enjoy seeing it and maybe learn a little bit about my past. And, it's a great honor for me.
Yeah, it's really awesome, because when you think of the Halloween season, like I said before, and you think of MeTV, obviously Svengoolie's the guy. Help me settle this debate. My grandfather and my mother always had this debate when I was growing up of my grandfather was the Munsters, my mother was the Addams Family. Which one is in the correct camp? Who's the winner of this debate? Are you Team Munsters or are you the Addams Family?
It's kind of tough. I think that as far as holding up better, there's times when the Addams Family has the edge on that. And Munsters, but, you can't get past the comedy of Al Lewis and Herman there. It's hard to tell. See, it's two different things. It's apples and oranges in some ways, even though they're in the same genre. So I think they're both right, actually.
Do you have a personal favorite between the two?
Well, actually, we ran more of the Addams Family on MeTV for a while, and I was really just taken by the writing and the way that the characters were maintained. And John Astin as Gomez, it was almost like a lot of times very much in the vein of Groucho Marx with his quick comebacks. So I think I'm a little bit more in that camp.
Yeah, I watched something about the making of that original Addams Family television series, and of course it was in black and white, which I think added to it. I don't think you could have done it in color, but when you see color stills of the set, it was like pink and purple and very vibrant. That doesn't come across on television, but I always thought that was funny. Now you're also not just doing, I guess, shows or movies that would be deemed as normal Halloween movies or shows like spooky and ghost related, but also some of the classics like Green Acres and the Brady Bunch and Gilligan's Island, some of those great Halloween episodes, right?
Yeah, there's going to be every Sunday afternoon blocks of various shows. A lot of times it's the sitcoms, like you mentioned. We'll also have Kolchak, the Night Stalker, Alfred Hitchcock Presents, Twilight Zone, and Addams Family. I should throw that in, I guess.
There you go.
That'll be every Sunday during October. And also in the regular schedule, you'll have some of the episodes of the various shows in their normal time slot that will have a spooky theme. We've got a real variety of them.
My favorite movie of all time is Back to the Future, which actually takes place during the Halloween season. It's in October, although you can't really tell from the movie, but it is an October Halloween film in some regards due to the time period. But what a lot of people don't realize is Robert Zemeckis, the director of the movie, and Bob Gale, the co-writer, They got their first break on Kolchak the Night Stalker, which is such a fun show. I can't believe I think Kolchak only went for a season. Is that right?
Yeah, that is. And I always was surprised by that, too, because I love it, and the concept is great, and Darren McGavin just pulls it off so well. But yeah, and I know they tried a remake of it a few years ago that didn't quite fly, and I think part of that was because you didn't have Darren McGavin as Kolchak. I think he was, a big part of the show, and he handled it so well.
The show I think was phenomenal, and the episodes hold up. I mean, I've always liked the vampire episode, the one I think it was called the Devil's Platform or something like that. I've watched a lot of these. Do you have a particular favorite of Kolchak?
One of my favorite ones is the one where there's some sort of spirit that takes on the appearance of someone you know and that you trust, and it lures you towards them, and then it kills you. I don't recall the name of the episode, but it's fantastic, and I believe there's a guest appearance by Phil Silvers at the beginning of it, even. So there's some TV history there.
Oh, look at that! Look at that! What do you though think of the because you talked about remakes of the Night Stalker? They tried it didn't work. Universal also tried to kind of reboot the classic horror film franchise, if you will. They wanted to do all these crossovers of The Invisible Man and The Mummy that Tom Cruise did. What did you think about that effort? Did you find it to be, I don't know, a step in the wrong direction, or did you like kind of the Mummy movie that we got and The Invisible Man movie?
Well, I like the Brendan Fraser Mummy movie.
Those are fun.
More than the Tom Cruise one.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And it had the same feel as a lot of the Universal early monster movies that had humor in them as well as the scary stuff. And I liked the Van Helsing movie.
With Hugh Jackman.
I thought that could have led to much more, but obviously, it did not. But, any of the recent tries don't seem to have quite, held up as well. And, the fact that they really don't end up with sequels or, more like one character meeting the other in a movie. I think that kind of shows that it isn't quite clicking.
The Universal monster movies or the horror movies from the early days are so rewatchable. I mean, I think that's why that we can still play them on MeTV and they draw an audience, because you can almost pick up them wherever they are in the movie and still enjoy. It's kind of one of those rewatches. What's your favorite of the Universal?
Oh, it's hard to say. I like different ones for different reasons. Definitely Bride of Frankenstein,
mm-hmm.
which I believe will be showing sometime soon. And another one is, this is from the 50s, The Creature from the Black Lagoon, because it seemed like such an original concept. And, it worked really well. So those are two. I always hate to name one favorite because I like different movies for different reasons.
I think it must have been on MeTV. I can't imagine where else I would have seen it. The Vincent Price House on Haunted Hill. That was always one of my favorites growing. I know it's not like, what we were talking about with the Universal monster movies, but I love the House on Haunted Hill. And Vincent Price, kind of just an all-timer as far as the horror genre. People might know him from the voice on Michael Jackson's Thriller and things of that nature. What do you think about Vincent Price? Do you hold him in the same regard that I do? Because I put him high up on my list.
Definitely so. And I think he more or less moved into the top horror spots that were occupied by Karloff and Lon Chaney Jr. when he moved into it in the late 50s and early 60s especially, and right through to the 70s. He was so terrific. And here again was a guy that could be absolutely menacing and frightening, and also had a way with comedy as well. Very versatile actor, and he's a big, important part of the horror genre.
Another guy who's a big, important part of the horror genre, Alfred Hitchcock. I remember seeing The Birds when I was a kid, and I actually went, ironically enough, to Edgar Allan Poe Elementary School, home of the Ravens, go figure. And I saw when I was a kid, I saw The Birds, and it stuck with me, and I don't think I ever really got over it. I never looked at those feathered creatures the same since then. Why was Alfred Hitchcock so great, and why do we still love his movies?
Well, I think he had a great sense of, suspense and building up to surprises that would scare you. He was an excellent director. He would throw things in that would completely throw people off, like the fact in Psycho that the main star who's in the movie dies pretty early on.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody expected that. Again, he really had a way of surprising you, and just building tension. And it was also great writing from his writers he had.
Do you still find that horror films made today, like Jordan Peele is a big director now in the horror genre? Do you feel that they I don't know, do they connect with you the same way some of these ones did?
A few do. Jordan Peele especially. I think he's doing a great job with this. Again, I'm more of an old school guy,
Mm-hmm.
and I prefer practical effects, and makeup to CGI stuff. Even though a lot of that is well done and really works, but there seems to be fewer that really appeal to me these days. I guess I'm old school.
Well, I think that being able to do effects practically in the camera gives you such a different realism than the CGI. I mean, I was actually, we talked about Booker. He and I just had this conversation the other day on the radio about I like the original Incredible Hulk with Lou Ferrigno more than the one in the movies, because Lou Ferrigno, although the paint wasn't the greatest, he felt like a real person in the frame, and I felt like he really was tearing through that wall.
Yeah, definitely so. It's the real physical presence that I think really sells it. Definitely. He did a great job.
Well, again, Svengoolie, the season kicks off starting this Saturday, of course, October the 1st, and we're looking forward to seeing the original primetime special. Check your local listings, obviously, where it's playing. We're in the Central Time Zone, so it would be around I believe the 8 o'clock hour here in the South. But make sure you check out that Svengoolie Uncrrypted. I'm really looking forward to that. And I appreciate you for joining us this morning and just talking about the Halloween season. We're here. This is Svengoolie time. One more time, why should people tune into Me TV during this Halloween season?
Well, we've got more scary stuff in all different genres for fans of that type of thing. And I want people to know that our regular movie starts an hour earlier this week in order to make room for that special. So tune in an hour earlier than you normally do, and you'll be happy to, because it's Karen Black in the immortal trilogy of terror, and you don't want to miss that.
Hey, man, well, I'll be checking it out all October long, and I just really appreciate you taking some time for us, and congratulations on all your success. Svengoolie.com is where you can find out more about you, get some merchandise, and get ready for the Halloween season. Svengoolie, I appreciate you.
Thank you so much, Brad. And say hi to Booker for me. I hope he remembers me.
I will. I'll tell him this afternoon. We really appreciate it. Svengoolie, everybody.